Open Happiness, official soft drink of NASCAR.
Jimmy Johnson overcame a poor starting spot, a lightning-fast Kevin Harvick, and a late charge from teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. to win the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway Sunday. He and Harvick both started near the back of the pack and blasted through the field. Then Johnson survived a challenge from Earnhardt on a restart after a 6-car wreck with less than 20 laps to go.
You know, sitting on the red, I was kind of walking through what would happen, and he had a good run on me a restart or two before, and I felt like I might need to block that. And I tried to block it a little bit, and I kind of got him up the road some, and I pulled back down to the bottom and thought that I would pull back ahead through 1 and 2. And then when he got to my outside, I didn't know what was going to happen in 3 and 4. And I went in there and convinced myself not to lift, and I think he had to check up a little bit with the outside lane, and I made it around there and cleared him.
Harvick, Earnhardt, Joey Logano, and Matt Kenseth were the rest of the top 5. Logano leads Johnson by 1 point in the standings and Harvick by 2, with Las Vegas next on the schedule this coming Sunday. This has been the Coca-Cola Monday Morning Race Refresher. Enjoy the race with an ice-cold Coke, the official soft drink of NASCAR. I'm Woody Kane on the Motor Racing Network.
Join us on Saturday, March 7, 2015 for the second annual Habitat Strawberries Festival at the McPherson Government Complex. The goal of this festival is not only to provide a great time for families in Ocala, but to also raise funds to build a home for our family and our community and support Habitat for Humanity's mission to strengthen communities, build hope, and provide dignified housing solutions. Remember, Saturday, March 7, 2015 for the second annual Habitat Strawberries Festival at the McPherson Government Complex, which starts at 7 a.m. with breakfast.
All right, 61 degrees here at the Source. It's 7:48, 12 minutes before 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. There's one topic I wanted to bring up in this short period of time, and I'll just tell you what it is. And if you want to comment on it, I'd love to hear from you. We interviewed Adrian Wiley back during the governor's campaign. Mm-hmm. He was the third-party candidate that was actually showing, some numbers. He represented the Libertarian Party. And he's in court today, or he will be later on today. And he's doing this on purpose. He was charged with driving with no valid driver's license. So he's challenging something he says is unconstitutional. So let's look at this. He is fighting against the Federal Real ID Act. That's his fight right there. In Collier County, he was arrested by the Collier County Sheriff's Office deputies in September of last year after a traffic stop. He said it was an act of civil disobedience that began in 2011, but I guess he never got stopped until 2014. Anyway, back in 2011, he surrendered his driver's license to protest Florida's compliance with federal Real ID mandates, specifically the act of getting information from you and I and everybody else in the state in order to get a driver's license or a state ID. Mm-hmm. He called it data mining and biometric cataloging. Since that time, Adrian Wiley has been publicly vocal about his outlaw travel habits. I think he even mentioned it on our show.
I think so.
There was so much going on at that time. I forget things easily.
He was very articulate.
He was. It says in the article he was even baiting law enforcement to arrest him. Mm-hmm. Well, he had his wish in September.
Yeah.
In the case today, he has an attorney from the city of Clearwater that is representing him. Their defense focuses on the legal precedent that a state cannot force a citizen to surrender a constitutional right, such as the right to privacy, in order to gain a state privilege.
Okay.
Wiley says the Constitution was violated when Florida implemented Real ID and the Department of Homeland Security's mandates regarding personal document collection and biometric scanning of all Florida licenses in 2010. Currently, Florida collects documents such as birth certificates, social security cards, marriage licenses, mortgage documents, bank statements, etc. at the time of license renewal. These documents are then scanned and uploaded into the national database and retained for a minimum of 7 years. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's not right.
Wiley also points to the Real ID Act requirement that everyone applying for a driver's license be subjected to a digital facial image capture that is uploaded to the National Facial Recognition Database. I guess you would call that a photograph, right? Mm-hmm. In a series of investigative reports he released for the 1787 radio network, Wiley documented how driver's license images are being used by law enforcement agencies to automatically identify people via video surveillance cameras with facial recognition software. I saw an article, by the way, on how these get it wrong sometimes. Mm-hmm. Have you ever gone online and say, Who's my twin?
Oh, no, I've never
Who's my
done
twin?
that.
There's a website called Who's My Twin. You upload your face.
Oh.
Your picture of your face.
I've never done that. I won't.
And it'll show you who looks like you, supposedly.
Gosh.
And sometimes it's a remarkable resemblance. Can you imagine if one of those people who looks like you becomes a criminal?
Yeah, exactly. That happens before.
Let's see. More cameras are deployed around the country. They're all interconnected, he says. Traffic cameras are all part of the problem, too. He said he hopes that a ruling in his favor could pressure the Florida legislature to repeal Real ID compliance and destroy the terabytes of personal and biometric data the state has collected so far.
Yeah, that's not right for them to keep
I
all
can't
of
help
that
it.
on file.
I can't help but agree with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to. I certainly want our law enforcement to have as much at their disposal as possible. But, he's making a really good point too.
Well, sure he is. And once you get your driver's license, they have your picture, they have your date of birth, they have your social security number, and your address. So, they don't need all that.
All right, I want to hear from our listeners. The number is 622-9622. Good morning. You're first.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Yes, and the Constitution Party is also against this, which is why we didn't block his nomination with another nominee from our party.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
So what is different about this than what was done before the Real ID was?
A state driver's license is, it's federal overreach again. The state driver's license has to do with the state of Florida, not the federal government. But the federal government is getting us to collect all this information for them.
Yeah.
And it ain't right.
Okay. Well, right. I don't disagree. I think it's a good point. And unfortunately, he has. So what happens if he loses this case? Then what happens?
Well, he's going to have to hire a chauffeur, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Right. And here's thank you. Here's the shame of it. I don't want to be arrested, Mm-hmm. So I will be compliant even if I disagree with it. It's just like this whole thing about needing to hold up your driver's license and your insurance, your proof of insurance, and your vehicle registration.
Yeah.
As opposed to rolling down your window at a DUI checkpoint. I mean, I don't want to buck the system. I mean, I may buck the system here with words, but when I'm actually in that situation, I don't want to cause problems because guess what? Ultimately, I'm going to be, having a hard time.
Yeah, you're the one affected by it.
And then what do you do? What's the expression? Bite your nose or cut off your nose, whatever it is, to spite
your face.
Yeah.
Well, he's making a good point though because he's. In that arena where people will pay attention to him because of his name and because of what he's been doing. So,
and he did it intentionally. So, which do you think either of the other two candidates for governor would have done that? Do you think they even agree with him? See, that's what I'd like to hear. I would like to hear how Scott feels about this.
Yeah.
I would like to hear how Charlie Crist would have handled it. That would have been fun.
And does that mean that the state of Florida is getting federal money because the state of Florida is collecting all this information and giving it to the government?
See, and
probably.
Very smart. I think that's exactly what the trail always leads to.
Yeah, it's always money.
It always leads to, well, if you don't do this, you won't get money. So therefore, we do these things and get money.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. The federal government.
I mean, some of the things.
It's about your programs. We're going to cut your program if you don't do this, and then they do it.
So if you have something you want to say, I would love to hear from you. There is something else in the news that's political in nature that's worth talking about. What would happen if the Supreme Court invalidates President Barack Obama's health care law? What would happen to the people who said, oh, now I have health care? Now I have health care. I'm paying $80 a month, $100 a month, $30 a month, whatever it may be, or nothing. I think in some cases people pay nothing and they're completely subsidized.
I think it would stay, only it wouldn't be mandatory. I think that's where Obama made his mistake. He should have just offered another avenue and not made it mandatory.
So Senators Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, and Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, all three Republican, by the way, have outlined their plan for what to do if the Supreme Court invalidates part of the Obama health care plan.
Yeah.
They say, we have a plan for fixing health care. They posted it yesterday on the the Washington Post, I'm sorry. The article provides no detail on how much assistance they would propose, its duration, or how they would pay for it, nor do they address how they would overcome Republican divisions or Democratic opposition to weakening the law.
But I don't hear the word they'll remove the mandate. That's all they got to do. Just remove the mandate and people will be happy.
The article appears before Wednesday's oral arguments in the case brought by conservatives and Republicans that could upend the functioning of the 2010 health care law by invalidating the subsidies that help millions afford required health coverage. A decision is expected in June. So if the mandate is still in place, as you're pointing out, but the subsidies are taken away, then you will be, if you right now are paying, let's say, $30 for a $500 a month policy, thank you. You're going to have to pay $500 a month.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's the end of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to arrest all those people?
Yeah. Take away the word mandate. That's where the problem is. It's in that word mandate.
The Senator's article is the latest political salvo that seems aimed as much at the court's 9 justices as at the public. Last week, Health and Human Services Secretary Sylvia Burwell said nullifying the subsidies would cause massive damage to the healthcare system.
Oh, sure. But they don't listen to the people, and the people are screaming, don't mandate it, and we will get policies.
In the column, we should maybe get this column out and read the whole thing, but in the column, the 3 senators acknowledged that if their side prevails in court, 6 million Americans could lose subsidies, and many would no longer afford coverage. Well, of course.
Sure.
They call the case an opportunity to reshape the law and say they have a plan to protect these people and create a bridge away from the statute. All right, well, those are the 2 political topics that caught my eye this morning. The one from the 3 senators, and then the one I just mentioned earlier about Adrian Wiley.
Yeah. I like that one.
All right, let's take a little break. Galen Unold is up next from Life South Community Blood Centers, and we'll be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 90.